Yes, so that really experience right now for the night of do that you actually was by like the final showdown where it is that now reflecting what's now that so that until that point of for second for the point of like fight and like now kind of would change in that really exactly like how some of the change like the element like how they different like by spending by having can spend time with the corporate with the tally of getting alone the account with that but still I'm doing that for from so that about that bring about eventually bring about that as to not to change that carry executive the select the scenario that is so and I'm totally connected to the items to bring that the loss of having by would be attempting that help 11 in how bad again like when that is the scenario so like I'm putting the bad in that the back getting like 11 for on that in like 11 and making up the we reaching a point where like that like not starting getting the upper hand and against like 11 and doing getting up and extremely like at that point I'm going to spring from that cover to that when we here and we doing everything he can to like help 11 out, but like in the background for bring back the loss of that of COVID happening at this now like and that and all that very in one thing in that within that that going off for like resulting resulting in like integrating it like it's like now that and so yeah so I think more by the time month then the loss of technology happening nuclear so when the set point will come back and I think today today coming back to like normal and waking up for everyone kind of day with Netflix now that one snack one like thing one select the lots of vitamin will be happening like at that point of the by your point like as careers as well to come back to like between the scenario and from so like after like the problem and learning things for like the system like 11 and tally number thing to be living the thing from that point on and like career for career and career is like in the scenario. Although the players to be remembered that like it might have been slightly when now cheer of what along this might have been that right now targeting deciding to take position to that target teenager in that season one of Stranger Things. People like they certainly must be making so that they have to must then like they the teenagers that they might while they could for teenagers to develop into the like and that's the very same equivalent side the case to property in the case of that targets around like the case it might take take greater amount of like given time for that maybe it might have been due to that when getting more confident as soon as that in case of that like but now might have went for like the for targets writing at that targeted with teenagers that have been a target teenagers in the case for space even after that like now training that's and all of that so we in like the the target that say through long term things that we in so mind that we can even after that focusing on the technology that going for that teenagers in for the schedule based like target might have definitely come back to see a more market that it's been like but now might have investigate the thing for it. So that would have been the very right now that like every might have like this all the memories of that the what's it within Sharks might be like actually today. So like yeah like I'm totally going Shark actually recently like right now asking Henry as to like what is his name and once like Henry would be really that like Henry at that point then put the name Henry to trigger that uh, trigger and the away from that suppose like hello it's like the scenario that I'm doing at that point that like is there to Henry and basically they're straight away shouting out at like Henry and basically calling Henry like to get that anything is like scenario like at that point I'm going to that's like in the scenario that I'm doing like they're doing that in front of like calling as well as like all the remaining target of that scenario that I'm doing. So like at that point like on the different like Henry take their away from like the free housing like the mind work like of like recognize like the now that we were putting something and so different that they can at that point of telling that the other targets that we see that is like feeling well, and so that Henry's were to that treat him and basically that by saying that excuse that everything from that Henry quickly taking their away from that house, put that hand on that the target new economy, respecting the scenario that I'm going to bring out of the so like that way, like I'm going to Maxine and Tony having their stuff, ending up being even negative stuff, not just them to prevent the but also to like free all the remaining targets and also find that exactly that immediately taking direct towards that is the to find direct and to that free and save direct as well. That is extent to that greater extent that the task of that 19 uh, and holding that really in terms of relate that thing is an that we can really bring in right. Okay, totally looking for actually the scenario to be like getting to like and be like in the end basically helping out and like Henry and at that point like Henry like telling to like the targets that Henry is going to like really that can basically Henry that way personally taking direct to like the upper goals of that different in like the mind world of like right now that I'm doing so like exactly while Henry that person is taking direct to not directly next upper home that person of only thing like for like for equal to take advantage of that, see that chance and let's say next to that taking advantage of that chance, doing that straight away tell owner in targets to that no tell Henry that like uh, she's that leaving like the house and basically on straight away planning to like the process and I'm only putting relatively uh, found out like the total information that like about like Henry leaving, not deciding to like leave the house anymore and about like total information about like Henry plans to like make the move tomorrow to acting like the citizen to be on maybe his back to like the house just fairly in time by the time that Henry would have locked on the floor and would have made it back also that doesn't really experience right now that lack of popular as well as can might have especially skin themselves themselves on like the video engage like academic lecturing around might be that the actual interpretation of given frame. So like it might be a carries like hallucination alone that like of the as well as experiment so this might be saying that open given frame is to that they might have given themselves like as soon as that they might have heard it's stems of like the Indian focus might have been like that so your case but make it so but they are covering right now itself for like stealthy progression of that of game by the game of that Hopper&Kali and 11 right now it's like perfect this is actually it's not that at all bring it into them. So it's that you have the consideration right now it's for like from this point on like the thing now toxic numerous and creating that I'm putting up this curve within like Joyce my point on just like scenario planning and regardless of bring that Joyce find that shape of that determines but like regardless of how much that Joyce will be attending to that shape of that determines like that determines like still being strongly within that Joyce mind the day now was it like into scenario that I'm so bring on getting into them getting for like Joyce so the changes only fighting what words is like in the scenario that I'm focusing on then yeah, I'm thinking about that likely Henry's father, like friend in that friends about the careers back myself, likely phone like Henry to take part in the play of Lama play, which might have been created by this same joy, which some of my freelance activity is but given to go chat, which some of the joy might have been like the joy that are like now on the play and in which like Zoe might have been given a number of things that the situation might have been that maybe with the trail might have been struggling to get conveyed to that get into that take part in that place. So like at that point I'm looking that which still maybe might have thought like the help of like choice back then might have been the case but given the trail might have not introduced his name as like a trail or but like he might have just told choice that he badly wants his like to be to take part in play and give me uh, take part in like the play. It might help him to see small so good and make get and make friends and everything. Might hear of the line like it might also join that basically those might have at that point definitely felt that it was a great great thing for like Joseph might have felt that it might be a great thing for like to have Henry take part in like the play. Right? You know, sometimes like Joseph might have felt something was great. So like at that point I was thinking Joyce might have asked like real up to that point it is that like so that Henry like the most. So like at that point I was thinking Henry might have I mean that they might have told Joyce that like Henry like pointing fighters and keeping fighters fence might you know the line lacks along the lines lack of they might have told Joyce at that point so you know so, like at that point I was when Joyce might have only told Henry that basically if Henry takes part in lack to play them lack Joyce will fight Henry actually a great combination of lack fighters like fence as lack it's like the one for lactic partner that they might be along the lines lamp for the point to that way might have from then agree to lactate bar in like close play might have been one might happen in one way and the player to that like simply might have more struggle to lack memorize like the dialogue but like the fact why they might have been part of there it might have been a critique supplement but like once that's the date now but the date of like the play one that team team like at that point I'm just think for like the ball the players and like and like seeing that that might have been really too strong that might have gone for like players like at that team like the team proud still from and like in the main of start of the team like seeing and so might have been what might have happened to the game so like at the end of the day every might have told that were told Joyce that the Henry was born to like so different ways of the that they play. Uh, but like at that point, I'm talking about Joyce might have Henry that I at this stage Joyce might have Henry that like so believes in you that basically Joyce believes in Henry that Henry can consider amazing thing. Maybe along the line like Joyce might have at that point so Henry definitely not created to do that. That might have felt like that might have given Henry that temporary courage that motivated to continue with this like take up in expectation. Uh, might have been one minute certainly considering this. But like once like Henry might have gone come to like stage when like the play began and Henry might have gone to like stage like at that point Henry might have gone with like stage yeah might have been hip hop like then that how might have been what might have happened the in and then sitting in the that like it might have been stage part of like character that might have likely this part of that might have been likely leading that the crowd might have made at that point made fun of that drink. And at that point I might have seen from and that might have that like the whole made fun of that and by the crowd and everything. Might have been one might have limit fairness and like it might have been written and to shock and they might have one of seen that some adult basically that kind of written as to shock or like and they might have felt extremely embarrassing that and they might have at one point by on stage and might have finally on stage might have been one might have happened to somebody of the so so like during that moment at that point might have been extremely bad one like and we might have been what might have happened suddenly and the other things after that like Henry might have gone to think might have been what might have happened and there was time when Henry after like running off from stage might have kind of straight away ran on to like the cave of Black Maxine, which might have been close to that the nations and might have been the place that we might have been able to yeah, entry might have ran towards that cave and fit himself within that cave. Might have been what might have happened is like one was black the one was there for Black and they might have ran back home and like the next day when we might have came to like school like that's when I'm looking at like his classmates and they don't in school might have also get name one of the things we might have been come to that and will perform in like the Henry region of in the Oklahoma place. My dad was I think it's like double for the so like maybe it might have been friends and Henry might have run off to the cave and typical within the cave like within that cave like Henry might have been the thoughts of like the thoughts of like what Henry might have done that I'm looking at that to let Henry and everyone making one of that Henry and like Henry at like stage and everything that Henry might have set on some and trying for like those people being might have been what might have happened and might have been the that I'm planning for like and frustrated and race as well towards like Joyce might have been against the people so like Henry might have felt that basically Joyce might have tricked Henry into actually investing in the might been working into like so like those going for some sort of thing those might have working might have been that those release the Henry that like Henry Sanders amazing things like all that one like and then to like that like Joyce was like from me by saying that or to like so need to like get Henry to say nothing like so like doing that thing to be along the line like Henry might have done anything like a bit and might have been put that been raised towards like Joyce and towards like power industry as well as like towards like internet form like it might have been open like and there we civic conference that like Henry might have said it's like on that day when I was looking initially I'm looking at Henry might have been trying and might have been filled with that the sign up which is the as like near like the end of that week like and different like Henry might have gone from that experience that to explain frustration and rage that rage might have been towards the end effectively that every within that game might have been like we might have changed his like fighting powers might have been what might have happened with the movie created. So that my brother is not really might have attained to like super power like at that point active frame the ball of secondary might have been there and at that point secondary might have felt extremely powerful like basically and fearless at that point maintaining it like might have been what had happened but we don't care. So that way like with that good fearless like Henry might have executed that game and they play find out the back forth uh, and that might have been how that the rain and the like countries might have even got Henry back when simply not really so that then I don't that the might have been something wrong like Henry all of it might have not been able to that find Henry uh, for like 10 years that week and might have been might have been long like Henry return back home that like again might have been shot and it might have been really asking parents to like where he was from like it might have not even spoken a single word to like it might have been like meet my company so like so basically like all the slang and like over 20 years like to it might have been for one of like all the might have been one might have been but like those saying that the situation like basically even after like hearing like the name Henry like and so different like so not being able might be still not being able to like connect Henry to like the very exact uh like Henry from like the plane might have been due to that most likely Joyce back then like they might have been calling and might have been in the love channel might have been calling Henry by that always different nickname might have been like the name that they can see. Like Henry might have owned so that Joyce might be connecting Henry to that nickname might have been actually the feeling. So that development that it might be that even more way more than the name Henry that it might be that absolute nickname that Joyce might have given to Henry that kind of that might be something within like those might uh contain a good Henry. So when they are looking get like the date now of its like like haunting Joyce and the relation of the different actually like a different the very dance play that basically to go to some like the system maybe during evening might be when like it is finally clicking for like choice as to that soon as to like some elements of that and it comes into like it's approximate payment that your temperature might be the case and that choice like from having that sort of realization towards the evening of like the final day of like some uh, like the economic that really bring up the brain. So it's a lot of new interactive by the level of rates that recommend plan right to lessons likely to have that and it to shape open planning and first like the electric behavior within like the chance of more for that basically giving the open into that is a great well like the adaptive factor of getting solved by that team and from there going like but now technically to that spread back it from like the entire of that audience to the entire of the real world, and that way to have like the entirety of like the real world get consumed and swallowed by like the darkness of like the random maybe along the lines of like maybe like the planet that kind of entry might be steadily here to experience right. So it's like you mentioned right now about like choice to that right now. Most likely come up with like the plan to that likely form that to that brainstorm and try to that figure out why that it's like like extremely important to that right now. And it's so like the possibility of that and it's so wide now not to was like extremely important to that right now. So then like brainstorm and try to figure it out. So then at that point I'm like maybe choice that telling will that be lead back when like will was like connected to like the high mind in like the past that basically back then like 41% like back then while the will was like on prevent the high mind like the past and my different like the past like at that point like I'm like when my down particularly my down ran through like the now memories of like right now might have been like that to look at this I mean but like it might have been such good for that like will might have not remember back and something of them. So like I'm talking about there maybe something will that is because will can recollect like some past uh uh that past incidents of like will while come to like the high mind like basically within like will can kind of not any of that recognized memories so like high mind that will might have been thing like the past like this. And also slang like I'm different next door asking with so like at that point like will trying to like remember and they like trying to like remember like I'm going to bring uh like will when I being able to like recollect like a few of the current situation that now still and like but now like it's not if I'm sure perfect so that we have to consider at that point was like telling that telling Joyce and Mike and also that like now but it's like a day uh like build feels that will be that like just had sense like about the black no but still while trying to like recollect the thing with like still get a feel that is the now but it's like a day of like green song for like Henry actually, and it's like sort of that like built this like feeling and sort of an extreme embarrassing situation and tears and at that point was like telling Jordan also that like will feels that he thinks that he hadn't seen the stage like entering in like the stage to be along the extent like I'm so thing will not that we are collecting like being able to like recollect everything only to that extent alone. Like this number so like at that point the number for like it to that maybe it's supposed to be at that point for people to like for like those and with like the Oklahoma play and like in like and enjoy the like Oklahoma play is like the enjoy that being able to like recollect for the place that way and figuring out the English for this is that feeling the scenario that I was going to also like the living sense of right that like that's the theory may in fact be true and like there might be most like generating things which might be powering like the adaptive of like the animals for something of the animal would want it's for like might be the like generate like things but like might be percent feel within like the underground where like it would be extremely difficult for like all the for like kind of that thing to even be able to like reach might be that active to they were to like let's say like the very beginning itself like like the game might have the might have shown like how that that generator created like very extremely deep beneath like the ground which like even 11 in that season 2 quite close that the giant team and like Hawkins Lab might have still this because then even at that point like the gate might have from the downwards and basically like and like that game might eventually team leading to further downward to like this creation of like the generate like the creation of the generator even back then might have been in like the new stage might have been like to the game the name of the game. So generator might be the most kind of like generator and multiplying extremely deep underground and like for definitely that don't be there for them to let even be able to like make it towards like on generator the only throw its weapon by creating a lot of destruction. Uh, in that underground area might be that the actually effective definitely might create. Yes, I can go the finance will be not involved in destruction. So when we possible form like a certain team, most likely they do some major financial. There might exist like made things sort of yeah, team underground in that team underground area might be effective like create a sort of like destruction that we might not lag greatly to that the end effect outcome might be that the actual thing of like it is suddenly actual situation might be like it is suddenly not very so suddenly this person might not be a viable option at all to destroy like the most generate letting knowledge that like not damage. So then the damage when it like the current source like and different personality that's when I'm limiting into the theory in like realizing the existence of like that theory to prove and like basically such things that it coming to like such a conclusion to being able to like realize like the existence of like new generate for the number of different that can happen through the most likely uh into the telling to the level of the example and then there are things that going underground actually and effect and the real is something for videos and everywhere like nothing would be the trailing in on something underground for like the non-resident and not being able to like find it for like really from like that we has on chilling than like some theories or like them or spell coming to the underground area and they're telling something to like hit of like theory and at that point when I'm trying to find it when I was like the similarity about it give up that will learn that it's when I'm like something probably selling to be telling Jonathan and Steven everyone to that. Only that the police might carry a action right now that would be of change that ultimate goal might be nearly important to like have to separate army to that an army of that more than kind of that like an army of that usually create like an army of that students with like dedicated powers and also of black power to like the mind uh, and to have both these two different types of like armies like state order either not state or like some of is like higher up might be along the lines of like ultimate goal of that of is from you and that way to that have format of the same or like on parents to actually see that way of like that absolute power through these two different kinds of that of that weapon to remain that to be taken perfectly silent to be organized like this one that we're telling that's the and like when that things like now that together that when I'm going to spend for I don't think to like feel just yeah to like check it out and find food like this and at that point I was thinking like for like something to be able to like listen to what might be that the heartbeat of that or like the sound of this heartbeat or like the sound like the working of like the most generated from deep underground. Those like things would that I was told and that way like and that being able to that come down to really come down to the conclusion that like theory is proven about like the existence of that was generated. This like the not that is the based on the which either the state or the player might be planning on that taking over and doing it that then after the trying to that calculated method